Okay, we're live. We're back. Um, hey guys, happy Tuesday. My internet is shaky today. I've had a couple sessions so far and it's going on and off, so just a little warning, and if it gets glitchy, I'll get it back as quick as possible. All right. So we are in the Trauma to Truth Masterclass, Part 2, Day 2. So Trauma to Truth Masterclass Part 1 was last week. It was on my 3 tenets of codependence. This is Trauma to Truth Masterclass Part 2, which is about my 3 tenets of procrastination. And yesterday we went over the first tenet of settling. Today is, what am I going over today? Nothing at stake. And then tomorrow is my 3rd tenet of procrastination, which is death denial. Just making sure everything's all good here. Just a couple of thoughts. I got a couple of messages from people saying that they couldn't comment, that they were viewing, but for some reason couldn't comment. So if you're viewing today, which I see so far 3 eyeballs, which is awesome. Hey, eyeballs. If you can just comment and say hi or something so I know who's here. And if you're having a problem commenting, then email me, please, and let me know. I was looking that up, and the reason why people would have problems commenting is, number one, if you're not in the group, if you're not like a member of the group. Also, you could try shifting your browser to a different browser. And there's been some sort of Facebook update that they put out. So you may want to shift to the new Facebook interface as well. If you're still having problems, please let me know. Yeah, I have one more announcement, but I'll say that to the end. This is not a huge one. Okay, so procrastination. My 2nd tenet of procrastination. Nothing's at stake. Oh, the other thing that I want to say is people are asking me for the homework. Well, the homework is in the, so like yesterday, I said the homework at the end of the video, and then I posted it in the Facebook group. So this video, I'll say the homework for tomorrow, and then I'll post the homework in the Facebook group. So if you just scroll in the timeline, you'll see the homework from each day. And I'm going to go back today and title everything much better. I don't think I did a great job at really itemizing what day was what, labeling it well. So I'll go back and do that. So nothing's at stake. And so one of the reasons why I think it is challenging for people to live as the fullest expression of their true nature is because sometimes it's hard to actually feel that something is at stake. So it's easier to get a job that, isn't necessarily an expression of your talents, gifts, and passions. It's easy to be in a relationship that doesn't call you to be your highest and best, because when your survival is at stake, it calls you into being. It calls you into action. Well, I'll just get this job and get this paycheck, because if I don't have a job, I don't have a paycheck, I can actually feel what's at stake. My mortgage is at stake, or my car payment would be at stake. The actual survival and structure of my life would be threatened. But if I don't get my dream job, or if I don't find my dream partner, or if I, don't follow my truest interests, if I don't actually be who I believe I was born to be pre-trauma, nothing's really at stake, right? It's hard to feel what would be at stake. Sometimes the feeling of not living your truest life or not living as an expression of your true nature could be depression or anxiety. And people just manage the depression and anxiety and still stay in that relationship or still stay in that job. It's easier to say my survival is threatened if I don't do this thing. So that's going to move me into action instead of having actually your happiness and your inner peace be at stake. When your happiness and inner peace are at stake, you feel anxiety, you feel depressed, and you just sort of deal with those symptoms, and then you go back to the survival life, or you remain in the survival life, and then you handle the symptoms of being in that survival default life, as I would call it, the life that is depicted, run, and directed by your default psychology. Any questions so far, guys? Sometimes I talk a lot, and then I want to just take advantage of the live and see how things are landing. Also, feel free on these videos, if you want to ask a question from the previous video, ask a question about the homework. That's awesome. The other thing is, I got a lot of reflection from people, which is awesome, about the first masterclass. And I love reflection. I love feedback. Feel free to provide it. I had several people going, the first 2 days were okay, but the third day was like, that was the one. That was great. That was so impactful. I got so much out of it. And I felt the same thing. I felt like, the third one felt like a lot stronger than the first two. So, they can't all be home runs, but I'm just going to keep churning it out and keep giving and keep providing, whether or not the videos feel like a home run or not. But I'm totally open to that. Like, let me know, if you ever feel strongly like, hey, Cheryl, in this video you just put out, these are the things that drew me in, and these are the things that drew me out. Great. That's awesome feedback. I love it. And you guys are my community. I trust you. I receive your information, and it helps me grow and be stronger to serve you guys. So the other piece of nothing is at stake is that when you how can I say this piece? When we're living our default life, which a lot of people say, like, I'm living the life that I just sort of fell into, right? The path that was easiest for what I knew, even though I knew there would be more beyond it, more outside of it. But this is like, I went to college or I didn't, and then I just got the job, and then I got the next job, and I got the next job, and then I fell into this default path. And it was the best like survival path I could possibly come up with. So it's easy to say, it's easy to go, so my highest and best level of self-expression is not existent in my life, and I don't feel that there's really anything at stake there. And so this is why I'm bringing this up inside of the realm of procrastination, because there's a lot of things that we think we should do, or that we want to do, or they seem really interesting, or they would seem really fun and really joyful, and we put them off because there's nothing at stake, right? Like, if you don't take those guitar lessons, nothing's really at stake, right? So it seems like I'm such a procrastinator and putting this thing off, but the thing is that you're not feeling the pressure. You're not feeling how much that is you're not feeling how much creative repression that not finishing those guitar lessons are doing, or if it's singing lessons, or it's like, I want to go jogging every day, I want to go hiking every day, or I want to exercise at a really high level, painting, like watercolors, you know, or you're really interested in design and architecture, and you really like to research design and architecture, and maybe you know, design something of your own, or you know, you want to go from novice to amateur, or amateur to you know, maybe you want to go to like a mid-level or master level in whatever it is your hobby or your expression of your truest nature is, but nothing's really at stake. What would it take to go, actually, my happiness and my inner peace is just as important as paying the cable bill. My happiness and my inner peace is just as important as getting that mortgage payment in, right? Like the effort. Oh, that's the other thing that I was thinking of before. The amount of effort it takes to be in survival mode in a relationship, let's take, for example. The amount of energy that it takes to be in a codependent stronghold where you're repressing, suppressing. Hey, Sanem, awesome, so cool. Just do me a favor and just write hi in the comments so that I know that the comments are working. Because some people have said they weren't able to comment, which I couldn't figure out why that was. But everybody should be able to comment as long as you're a member of the group. So the amount of energy that it takes to stay in the survival mode of your default psychology, the amount of energy it takes to avoid certain people or to be in a relationship where you feel inferior, you feel silenced, you feel like you're not expressing truly what you actually feel or truly what you actually want, or you're in a relationship that isn't nurturing your growth. It actually takes so much energy to keep that low vibration. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Sanem. Awesome. Thank you. It takes so much energy to sweep all that stuff under the rug and just live as if those things are, to live in mediocrity. Hey, Victor. Awesome. Cool. But we don't notice it because we're used to it. Our nervous system, according to our trauma and our default, is used to a certain style of repression. Just used to it. It's the way things are. So we can't actually feel that it's taking energy for us to shut our mouths, to contort, to prove, to have to constantly prove ourselves, to be triggered into survival mode, which for some people has them be really passionate and combative, and for some people it has them be repressed and disassociated. The energy that it takes to keep the habits and the personality and our traumatic identity going is the amount of energy that we can be. Awesome. I like a thumbs up, whoever that was. Thank you. I think that was Sanem. Okay, cool. Sanem made it. Okay, cool. All right, good. But here's the thing. What happens when we're children and we're surviving a traumatic event or series of events, and we have to ignore what we're feeling about it, it becomes a complete unconscious habit to ignore how we're feeling about something. And we don't notice that it's actually taking a lot of energy from our somatic body, our nervous system. It's taking a large amount of energy to repress you so that you're not consciously aware of the pain. And that's why a lot of people who have unhealed trauma have autoimmune symptoms or autoimmune disorders or diseases, however you use many ways to categorize it, because there's like a multitude of autoimmune situations. Because our body is exhausted. It's exhausted because it has to hold on constantly, hold on, ignore your actual experience, ignore how you're actually feeling, has to shut down, shove down, and then contort itself to protect you enough that your face is actually saying something completely different than how you're feeling. That is so much work for your nervous system. So it's easy to ignore. We are programmed to ignore that actually our health is at stake as well. When we have unhealed trauma, our health is at stake. And so a lot of people will go, well, you know, I've been tired for 15 years. I'm used to it. I felt fatigue. I felt a little bit dizzy. You know, my diet's been off. I've been gaining weight and I don't even know how I've been gaining weight. You know, I feel like, you know, I just go to work and go home and go to sleep. You know, it becomes this lifestyle and you just get so used to it. You get so used to being unconsciously run by your trauma and the masks that your trauma, I mean, it's like, you know, Pink has this song called Beautiful Trauma, and I love that song and I love the title because there's something beautiful about trauma. And when I say there's something beautiful about trauma, and I've said this many times, the word trauma, the way that I look at it, is the decision or series of decisions that your nervous system made to keep you safe. Wonderful. Thank you so much, nervous system. You made decisions once or over and over again to keep me safe. Beautiful. Trauma is amazing. Thank you, trauma. Now, if we don't take the opportunity as adults to go, thank you, trauma, you did your job for me at a certain time. Now I'm going to take care of you. You took care of me, and now I'm going to take care of you, which means I'm going to heal you and release you from my nervous system so I can actually live from my truest nature. How many people do that? Not many, because there's nothing, it doesn't feel like anything is at stake. It becomes the life that we're used to leading, this mediocre level of life. And I'm not saying that everybody, you know, that we all just living in mediocrity, but you know where you're settling, which was my first tenet from tenet number 1 of procrastination, which I went over yesterday. You know where you're settling. You know where you're sweeping things under the rug. You know where you're just getting used to a certain frequency of living. Because it just doesn't feel like anything is at stake. And this is a great time, this, you know, Corona pandemic time. It's a great time to look at what has us feel like something's at stake, right? Like a lot of people are out of work and they're not making enough money. And what we're feeling is there's something at stake here. I may not be able to pay my bills. I may lose work. You know, I may not have enough food. You know, now I have to dig into my savings because I'm not getting my paycheck. There are things at stake. And usually we feel the most when things are at stake, when they're connected with money. Inner peace, not really connected with money, right? People can make a ton of money and have zero inner peace. So we have to get to the point where we actually feel what not living from our truest nature is costing us, that there is actually something at stake, that your happiness and your inner peace and the, this has been said a million times. Each and every one of us is a dramatically unique being. We have a million things in common. And then there's that one thing in you that you have that is so unique to you, that if you dove into it, and maybe you know what it is, a lot of people know what their unique gift is. And a lot of people just haven't really taken the time to surrender into actually imagining and thinking what that would feel like in their body to know what their unique gift is. Because they're stuck in too much dysregulation and having to create safety and survival, that their body never knew what it was like to go, oh, this is who I am. When I do this thing, this is who I am. What was I saying? I just digressed for a second. I don't remember. This is the tricky part of the lives. Like when I do my Fridays with Fidelman, if I lose my thought, I could just press pause and then come back when I remember. But this is what I was going to say. I noticed that in this sort of quarantine time, where I'm using this as a time to be as creative as possible and pump out as much content as possible and more people. And like I said yesterday, I'm doing a lot of free work right now. And I'm loving it. It's opening my heart. I am a stand that healing does not have to end during this this quarantine, bizarre pandemic situation. And I noticed that a lot of my feelings I'm having a lot more feelings come up now that it's like a slower time, and which is really, really beautiful. And one of my feelings was, wow, I feel actually really pissed off, and I feel angry that people can live their whole lives in their default psychology, and that their unique, specific gift will rarely, if ever, come to the surface because of unhealed trauma. And, and sometimes, people are, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. I had a client who was 80 years old who was just then going, look, I'm ready to come I'm ready to stop drowning in my trauma. I'm ready. I want to come out. My whole life, I've been, in this codependent, narcissistic stronghold with relationships. And I spent 40 years in this job that I didn't even like. And I've been, I ping pong back and forth between being the codependent and being the narcissist. And I had no awareness of it. But the survival was handled, mortgage and all of this stuff. And not to say, this person had a shitty life, but they were ready to come out from, under the water of their trauma. Become woke, if you will, which I think is the modern day word for that. It's beautiful. It's absolutely never, ever, ever too late. But I was like, man, I am so passionate about trauma healing. I'm so passionate that people actually feel that there's something at stake. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate. We need you. We need the unique, particular snowflake that is you. What we have in common is that we're all snow and we're all snowflakes. And we each have our particular, specific, unique print, like snowflakes do. And I know that sounds kind of like Hallmark cardish, but I'm so committed, and this like desire and thirst and almost part desire, thirst, compassion, empathy, but part like thirst and like frustration and like really high level desire is coming out in me during this like semi downtime, during this quarantine time. It's like my passion for trauma healing is just it's beautiful. I'm enjoying it and I appreciate it. I appreciate that it's fueling my work even more, and that I want people to be digesting and healing the trauma that took care of them when they were younger. Now it no longer needs to take care of you, because what is at stake is you, right? Because I think also as codependents, we just don't think we're all that freaking important. You know how many clients I've had, myself included, who I've said a million times, like my default is that my default psychology is that I'm less valuable than anything with a heartbeat that's ever existed. And it's part of codependent nature. It's also part of narcissistic nature, which is one of the you know, when I put some love towards narcissists, or acknowledgement or validity, I understand that it doesn't land well. Some people don't like it, but I think it's important to validate the narcissist in the sense that, and also one of the beautiful things of why a codependent and a narcissist get magnetized together. One of the beautiful things, I know a lot of it for a lot of people is like suffering, it's very dysfunctional, and it's like distorted intimacy and abusive and all of that. I had that experience, myself included. But one of the beautiful things is that both people feel like shit about themselves. The narcissist may not say that, right? Because some narcissists, more extreme on the spectrum, will have a grandiose affect about themselves, but most of the time, but then that is covering up the low self-value, that they have to cover it up by overproving their value. And for a lot of codependents, there is this lack of value because we weren't validated as children. So for me to say, you know, what is at stake is your unique expression. It's easy to say, well, to relate to that consciously or unconsciously and go, I have no value. How much work would it take for me to experience that I have value? How much work would it take for me to actually feel that I have value and feel it in my body and in my cells and feel it in my nervous system? And go, since I have value, what is at stake is the expression of that value, and that I can actually feel. Well, it takes a shitload of work to go from feeling not valued or invaluable or invalidated to it feeling intrinsically validated, and then having a voice and living from that voice. And I invite you to do that work wherever you are in your life, and that you're here. I know you're doing the work, and it's beautiful, and I'm really happy just psyched, and I want the Facebook group to keep growing and growing and growing so that more and more people are doing the work. And I want trauma healing to hit people at a much younger age. That emotional intelligence classes are actually embedded in the core curriculum in elementary schools, junior highs, and high schools, that we're hitting humans young with strategies to digest their emotional reactions and their triggers. Because nobody teaches us that. That's why it takes us 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years to figure out, like, oh, I might not be interpreting relationships accurately. Oh, I might be recreating my childhood dynamic unconsciously, and it's costing me. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Sam. Oh, I'm glad you're loving it. That's so great. Good. And it's costing me the actual fullest expression of my life. Holy shit, it doesn't, so I want to hit humans at a young age in their formative years so that they don't actually have procrastination in their nervous system, which means they don't have settling in their nervous system, which was yesterday's tenet of procrastination. They can actually feel that the fullest expression of their true nature is at stake when it's not being expressed. They can actually feel it. They're not so used to repressing that and numbing that out and going, actually what I really want to say has no space here, so I'll just say something else. Actually, this relationship doesn't feel very good, so I'm going to set this relationship aside. Right? Instead of getting so used to going, this relationship doesn't feel very good, but I'll still stick around because it's what I know. And it helps me survive, helps me stay in the illusion of survival. Okay, I'm over time. I think I hit my points, maybe a few of them several times, which I kind of have the habit of doing that sometimes. Okay, so here's your homework assignment. And please email me your homework assignment, or PM me, or post it in the Facebook group, or any reactions that you have to this video. If you ever want to tell me, hey, Cheryl, these things pulled me in and these things drew me out, because I want to strengthen my videos as much as possible. And now that I'm doing even more videos, I'm going to have to come up with things to say. So anyway, they may not always be home runs, but I'm committed to keep getting this work out there. So tomorrow will be day 3, Trauma to Truth Masterclass Part 2, day 3, the third tenet of procrastination, which is death denial. So your homework for today, for part 2, nothing is at stake. What is it that you keep putting off because it feels like nothing is at stake? Also, what is it that you keep putting off where you're actually noticing, I'm putting this thing off, and I'm actually experiencing something is at stake. Like, you are actually experiencing that your happiness and your inner peace is at stake by putting this thing off. So there's things that you're putting off and you're not really feeling like anything's at stake other than, it sounds like it would be a cool thing that I've always wanted to do, but nothing's really at stake. And then what have you been putting off where you're actually like, Cheryl, like, I've been putting this thing off and I'm feeling the weight on my quality of life by putting this thing off. Could be anything. It could be generating a hobby that you set aside. It could be, bringing your art back into your life. It could be ending a relationship. It could be just having a conversation in your relationship that you've been putting off for X amount of time. It could be shifting your career. So it could be, anywhere on the spectrum from what you would interpret as like a small, medium, or large thing that you're putting off. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Thanks for being here. The recording will stay in the timeline here. Thank you. Radiate peace. Think peace. See peace. Breathe peace. Speak peace. Receive peace. And love peace. Without words, it goes a little something like this. You are awesome. Life is now. Happy healing. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.